Man, just trying to make it all out. Okay, we're going to get started in about 2 or 3 minutes. If everyone could just take their seats, please. Some quick housekeeping items before we get started. The wireless, there is wireless internet in this room. The Liberty Bowl utilities, I believe, is the network to go on. The password is media31 exclamation point with a capital M. So media31 exclamation point. The press conferences following tomorrow's game for both teams will be in this room. So that is a change from what normally happens during the regular season. So both press conferences for both teams will be in this room tomorrow following the game. Okay, one final reminder, if everyone just take a minute to check your devices, set them for mute or vibrate. I will do the same. And with that, we can get started. We welcome Coach Luke Fickell from the University of Cincinnati, champions of the East Division. Coach, congratulations on advancing to the championship. We'll take an opening statement, and then we'll open up for questions.
Well, obviously, we're excited to be here. This is our first time, I think, since the conference. And to represent the East, we're really excited. It's kind of unique, obviously, to come back here 2 weeks in a row, but you guys have made it feel a lot different with obviously everything that's behind this. So it's exciting. It's obviously unique, like I said, coming back 2 weeks in a row, but I think it's going to be a really exciting game.
Mitch Davis with Tiger Sports Report. What do you expect to see out of Memphis the week after? I mean, it's the second week you guys have played.
It's like I said, it's unique. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to change their personnel. It's the same guys that are going to be out there, very similar to what we are. There'll be a few little tweaks here and there, and then after the first quarter, I think it'll be, right back to the same kind of battle that it was a week ago. It's, there's not a whole lot of things you can do differently. Obviously, if you're a Memphis 11-1, they're not going to change a whole lot, but. What they've done has been really successful, so would imagine they would continue to do the things that they've done with little wrinkles here and there.
Coach over here, Megan Rice, News Channel 3. Obviously, the setup's a little bit different and obviously still work to be done, but have you guys been able to kind of appreciate just making it to this step? Well,
I don't do a great job of that. I tried to remind the players Sunday and then every day that we've practiced that 90-some% of college football would trade places with them to have this opportunity to be playing in the final week of the regular season, obviously in a championship game. So it's an incredible honor. It's hard to kind of step back and think about it and appreciate what it is we have an opportunity to do when you got quite a task in front of you. And not that that we played them last week, but there's a lot of things that go through your head. Probably even more so because you played them last week. Doesn't allow for a lot of time to kind of sit back and realize how much it's taken to get here and how appreciative we are. But again, we try to remind our players that just so that they can, kind of stay in the moment and realize that this is this is the one goal that we had as a program that we don't talk about a whole lot when we started the season.
Here, 1-2, hello, right here, Jarvis Greer, WMC Memphis. Can you talk a little bit about your quarterback situation? You had the freshman come in and play really well last week, and how is Ritter? What is his status going?
Define really well. Did you? Okay. Really well means you win, but no. Ben did he did a good job last week. For the first time, he actually really got to play. I mean, last year he got into probably a little bit more than he had this year, just because of the nature of how the games were the year before. Even as a redshirt guy, using some of those 4 games, hadn't seen a whole lot of action this year, but is a guy that we got an incredible amount of confidence in. And I think that regardless of what the outcome of the game was, regardless of the 3 turnovers. I was impressed just with the way he handled it. I was impressed with the way our guys kind of rallied behind him. Never worried, even after we turned it over twice in a row, that they still were behind him 100%. And if he's what we're going with tomorrow, then I think they'll be right along with him, believe in what he's done, and I think he'll grow a lot from what happened last week. Yeah, I mean, Dez, we've always said it from the get-go that Dez is our quarterback, and but again, we got to make sure that he feels right, and got enough respect for Dez, just like we did 2 weeks ago. To say, hey, you gotta be honest with us. We go out there and we warm up. You gotta look me in the eye and tell me what you really feel. And if he feels it and he believes in himself, which he does, it's hard for that for a guy like him, as a competitor like he is, to say, hey, I don't know if I got it today. But I think that's something that as a coach we got to make sure we can take a peek at and look at and watch. And then like I said, I got a lot of respect for him to kind of look us in the eye, even as we get rolling, to say, hey, do you really have what it is that we need? And I think we respect him enough that he'll be really honest with us, and then we got to evaluate it as well, even in warm-ups.
Coach, here, Dick Weiss, how are you? You've obviously built a terrific tradition with defense. Mike is the type of coach that isn't afraid to go out of the box. Did you know he had the flea flicker in his bag last week?
No, I don't know that we had seen it exactly, but I knew there was something. I think we saw something right before half there that they weren't just going to take a knee on the ball. So I think that there's a lot of things in there that could be brought out, and I'm sure could be brought out again tomorrow afternoon. So things that, like I try to say, regardless if you're a defensive guy or offensive guy, you can't go into a game, trying to defend every little thing. Like, well, what if they do this and what if they do that? And oh no, here comes no. You got to play. You can't, sit back and worry and wonder about what's the next trick play. You got to be able to react and respond to it. And sometimes those things do catch you by surprise. And it worked for them, but hopefully it doesn't work for them tomorrow.
Isaac Simpson, Tiger Sports Report. Coach, when you have a situation like this, when you're playing a team 2 weeks in a row, does that affect your play calling at all? Do you maybe kind of hold some things back in the first game and might kind of open some things up in the second game? How do you kind of approach that going into the second week?
You like to say, yeah, we really kind of held some things back like a preseason game. We were already in the championship game. We knew that we were going to get to play, whether it was at home or possibly here. But no, I mean, you go in, you prepare to play a game, you prepare to win a game. There's not a whole lot of things that you hold back. Is there some things mentally, for an 18 to 22-year-old knowing that they're, in the championship game? I can't say there's not, but, we tried to combat that as much as we possibly could last week. I did not want any of the coaches to think like that by any means, so I surely didn't want the players to think like that. So there wasn't like we were holding something back. Believing that hey, if we get to play these guys again, we're going to have a few things left in the barrel. I think that you go through 12 weeks of a season, 12 games, whatever it is. I'd say 15 weeks, but everybody got a good idea of what each other has. I don't know that there's a whole lot of secrets still left when you get down to the very end of the season like this. So I think it's going to come down to who can make plays and who can stop the big plays.
Coach, the SEC's got Sugar Bowl, Pac-12's got the Rose Bowl.
There you go.
Would you like to see the American have one of those bowl games, maybe the Cotton Bowl, maybe something? And also, would you like to see the expansion of the playoffs to get a group of 5 team in there? And, maybe UCF last year, or, you guys, if you win this game this year, or Memphis, somebody like that, Boise State even?
If you haven't heard me speak probably much, you'll probably know that I kind of leave that to Mike Teresco. I think he does a really good job at kind of being the mouthpiece to our conference. The hard thing for us is, I don't get a whole lot into the things that we don't have a whole lot of control over. I got 100 and some 18 to 22-year-olds that take a lot of your time and things to do, as opposed to sitting here worrying a whole lot about where our destination is based on what happens, or what the league is going to be able to do. I know that this is a really good league. I think from top to bottom, the parity in this league each and every year. And again, I say each and every year. I've been in this league for 3 years, but has continued to impress me. This is, like I said, last year we didn't play Memphis. This was the first time last week that I had played them. Obviously, had watched them and seen them in crossover games. But I think that, where the league has gone and where we have gone, and I think, like I said, the parity and the strength of the entire league, I think it's starting to be recognized more and more. I don't think it's just that one team. It's just that it was UCF 2 years ago that went undefeated and it's an anomaly. No, I think you're seeing year in and year out now after 3 or 4 years that there's some really good teams, and I think it's going to be even more difficult maybe to run a table like UCF did because of the depth of the league. And so if that's the case, I think we're going to have to probably continue to push to fight to get ourselves our own bid legitimately because of what we've done, not just in 1 or 2 years, but in 4, 5, and 6 years.
Coach in the back, Studio Bidet, Channel 5 here in Memphis. So much was made of, obviously, Mike Norvell's offense, but that defense really gave you fits last week. The pass rush was obviously really strong for them. You think getting Desmond's back is going to kind of make a difference for your offense?
I hope that Dez is back and at full speed, but I don't know that Dez is going to be able to do a great job at stopping the pass rush, unless we snap the ball to somebody else and let him try to block an edge or something. I think that those guys up front are going to be the ones who have to handle that. And it wasn't just the pass rush, to be honest with you. I thought they did a really good job, Memphis's D-line, in the run, too. I mean, we had probably more negative yardage plays against us last week than we had all year. and that's not just through the pass. That was through, some of the movements up front and the runs that we had normally been so good at, and not giving up negative yards plays. So that I know that's a real emphasis for us. That what they did to us up front was something I don't think that we had seen as much of. So we're going to have to do a better job. Obviously, pass rush is included in there, but I don't think it was just those guys teeing off late in the game on the pass rush. I think it was from snap number one that they did a really good job at moving the front, mixing things up, bringing pressure, throughout the entire game.
Right, Coach, right here, Jarvis Greer again, WMC Memphis. There's only been like 4 of these games back to back played here in recent memory. 3 of them have gone to the team that lost the first game. How do you feel about that kind of situation, and did you talk to your players about it?
Well, I found out that there were only 4 games in college football that have gone back-to-back. I didn't know exactly what the outcomes were, and I surely didn't go and study how they did it. Actually, one of our coaches, Ron Crook, who's our offensive line coach, he was in one of those games. So he played. He was coaching at Stanford. He played at UCLA, or they played UCLA in the last game, then played him again in the championship game, and they actually won. So they must have been the one team that won. So didn't study a whole lot of that. I think that it's obviously unique as it is to play a team back to back, to try to study the history of the 4 times it's happened in college football. Like I said, we got a lot of things on our plate and a lot of things to do. But how much can you be? How much different can you be? And what little things can you do? And I think ultimately, when can you settle in? And as opposed to what happened in any other games, it's going to be unique. This will be a unique one, not just because of last week, but also because of the battle that it was last week. I think that makes it even that much more unique. And some of those, at least the one that Coach Crook told me about, they blew out UCLA in the first game and battled their butt off to win the second one. So I think it's even a little bit different when it's quite a battle in that first one and coming back for round 2.
Okay, that concludes the Cincinnati portion of the press conference. Coach Fickell, we ask if you just come up to the podium here. We'll bring in Coach Norvell to join you for a photo op with the trophy. For the photo op, if we just ask the still photographers to please remain seated for about 15 seconds or so, we'll let the television and video folks get some footage there. Then we'll let you stand up and take your shots as well. So again, just remain seated for a little bit. All right, video guys are good? Okay. If any still photographers need to stand to take some shots.
We're good?
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Memphis head coach Mike Norvell, champions of the West Division. We'll take an opening statement from Coach Norvell, then open up to questions, please.
Obviously, we're excited to be back in the American Conference Championship game. This has been a great year. Really pleased with our football team and the development that we've seen throughout the year. The maturity that we've shown. I think this is a team that is definitely grown from week 1 to where we are now. We faced some adversity, had some key players that went down, missed extensive time throughout this year, and but it provided an opportunity for new faces and this group to really showcase the heart and the character that they have. Being able to host the conference championship is something that's big, not only for our program, but for this city. We're looking forward to the matchup. It is definitely unique coming off back-to-back weeks playing the same opponent, but it just reiterated the respect that we have for the Cincinnati program, the talent that they have, and we know it's going to be one heck of a matchup here tomorrow. Proud of our team. It's something special to be here once again, 3 straight years in a row representing the West Division. That's a feat in itself, but we're looking forward to tomorrow, hopefully doing the things necessary to find a way to be successful, in accomplishing our goal and our objective to be American Conference champions.
Isaac Simpson, Tiger Sports Report. Coach, when looking at this through a wide-angle lens, when you reflect back on your time here, it's 3rd straight AAC West Championship. Game day, 11-1, and all the things that you've built here. Kind of give some words on when you look back on everything that's been accomplished and what you guys have built.
It's been a special journey, and from the first day that I got the job to where we've been able to build and progress to, there's been so many highlights, and this year has probably been the most rewarding of all of them, just with the circumstances that have kind of shown up. Looking at our football team and staff, I mean, we had to replace all three coordinators. We lost a couple of outstanding playmakers, All-Americans to the NFL draft early. We've had to overcome, like I mentioned, in the opening statement, some of the injuries and just all the different circumstances. But this team has shown, just the heart, the character that they have, the work that they put into it since January. Some of the new faces really have come in and done remarkable things for us. I think we've recruited at a high level, and it's been special. And not only what we've been able to do on the field, but the impact we've been able to make off of it. To look back at that game day experience and that weekend, that's something I'll never forget. That was special for the city of Memphis, being able to host game day, to feel the energy and the excitement, and everybody coming together to celebrate this football program and celebrate the city as a whole. But then to walk on that field that Saturday night, to see 59,000 people dressed in blue, that was probably a pipe dream for much of our history. There's been sellouts before, but I don't know if there's ever been a sellout that has looked like that, where it's been all about Memphis, and to be a part of it. It's been a tremendous honor, man, to coach the young men that I get to coach, to impact a community, something bigger than just a football team. It's been special, and now to host a conference championship, it's all part of our progression as a program, and we're definitely looking forward to taking that next step.
Anthony Robinson with WeDon'tBluff.net. Coach, how are you getting your players mentally prepared to play a game against a back-to-back opponent that they won, and keep them focused to not think that it's just going to be a guarantee?
I mean, coming off last week, it is a challenge. It's a challenge to play opponent back-to-back. You learn things about the personnel, the different matchups schematically. But the thing that came out of last week was a great respect of our opponent, and that was a game that a handful of plays go the opposite way, and it could have been a much different outcome. And for us, our focus this week has been the same as that it's been since January. It's been about ourselves. It really hasn't mattered who we've played throughout this season, whether it's open the season versus an SEC opponent or a nationally ranked opponent or primetime game. It's really always been about us and our growth and our development, as a team and as individuals, as coaches, and that's what our focus has truly been on each and every day. And that's what the message was once again this week. And I was really proud of how our guys prepared, and we're looking forward to this game. I mean, it's special. You get to play in a championship game. It's something that you should be commended for and be proud of. But we didn't sign up just to get here. We want to come, and we want to put ourselves in the best position to be successful. And if we play to the best of our ability, I'll be able to live with whatever outcome shows up.
Hey, Mike. Fletcher Page, Cincinnati Enquirer. You faced Ben Bryant last week. I'm sure you've seen plenty of film of Desmond Ridder. Has it been a challenge to prepare for both of those guys, and does Cincinnati's offense change any, depending on who's in there?
Well, to be honest with you, the last 2 weeks we've been preparing for Desmond Ridder. So we expected him to play last week. With Bryant playing, it was an impressive performance. For a young guy with the talent that he has in a big stage in a big game. I thought he did a lot of great things, and so we know we expect Ridder to play tomorrow. That's what we prepared for this week. Obviously, if Bryant does play, we'll adapt and adjust to that, but it shows the talent and the depth that they have within their program, and our guys fully understand and respect that.
Coach over here, Megan Rice, News Channel 3. Obviously, this being your guys' third time through, have you been able to tell a difference between your team or yourself, and just this time around? How is it different?
Probably not so much just within the week, but in the season. I think in this offseason, I spent a lot of time looking back at at the championship games over the last couple of years, and we had leads in both of those games, and you obviously lost those late on the road. You really succumbed to momentum swings and things that. Were disappointing for me and the program. And so, we tried to plan everything from January building forward to prepare for this moment. And there was a lot of things that showed up through the season, how we responded to within games, how we were able to finish games, some of the adversity that showed up, and our guys always responded. And I think it's because of how we prepare, how we train, and the maturity and the character of the guys that we have. So it's really been the same focus. I mean, we are excited to be able to practice and play on championship week, but to say there's been some drastic difference, it's just been the base expectation from the first practice to this morning, which was our last regular season practice, of just trying to get better in every aspect.
Coach, Anthony again with WeDon'tBluff.net. You mentioned watching the film and you were down in the championship games. Do you think having a more mature team and some of the same players around that have been part of your program will help you deal with that a little bit better?
I think the experiences that we've been able to build upon this year. There have been games. You look at the Navy game was a prime example early in the season, where we were down at halftime. Things weren't necessarily going our way, but you saw a great response. You saw a response from all three phases in that game. You can go through a variety of games. I think in our last 5, we've had times where we've played well and been behind and had to respond in each of those. And so this team it plays such great complementary football. Every phase has had to make an impact throughout this year, has had to play well at specific points in games to allow us to be victorious, and they've answered the call. And so tomorrow, we don't know what it's going to look like. I know that there's going to be adjustments that were made from last week. There's going to be probably some new schemes and some new plans of attack, but it's still all going to come down to the response. And this is when you have 2 top 25 football programs going against each other. I've got a lot of respect for the coaching staff that we're competing against. I mean, it's gonna be a heavyweight bout, and we're excited that we put ourselves in this opportunity. But we got to be ready for the response of whatever shows up throughout the course of the game, and that maturity, those experiences, we got to be able to rely on.
Coach Mitch Davis from Tiger Sports Report over here, Coach.
How are you? Okay. Oh, yeah.
Quick question for you. You talk about overcoming adversity. Your name has been mentioned. Florida State, Cotton Bowl's been mentioned. Injury, C.J. Carter this week. Talk about what is said in the locker room to keep these guys focused and to keep going on that one goal.
I mean, there's always going to be the outside noise, and there's going to be things that are always pulled to try to distract you. Our focus is on this game, on this opportunity. Honestly, the last 3 years, all those same things have been talked about at various times, and so. At the end of the day, we control what we can control, and I don't have any influence on what's written, what's said on the outside. Our players, we don't have any impact on when somebody gets injured or how we have to respond to that. The key is the response, and all of our energy, all of our focus has been about this week, and it's going to take our personal best effort, individually and then collectively as a group to put ourselves in the best position to be successful. And we're excited about the opportunity to compete tomorrow, and other than with everything else, that hasn't got much of our attention.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Brady White, what you thought when you first got him, and how he's played the second half of the year?
Brady's been a great quarterback for us for the last couple of years, and I think he's played at a high level. This year, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think you look at what he's done and how he's led this football team, the way that he's developed in the consistency of being able to push the ball down the field, making the right decisions, getting the ball out on time, protecting the football. But on the flip side, some of the best things that he does, most fans or people watching don't realize. The way that he prepares for games, the understanding, the amount of the volume of schematic checks and things that we have him looking at, that's what makes him special. And he takes a lot of ownership in our program, and it's part of my job to make sure that we're putting him in a great position to be able to showcase all those skills, and he definitely embraces that.
Hey, really quick, Coach Jarvis, WMC Memphis. The fact that when the all-conference teams came out. You had 14 on all-conference, but only, one regular player, 2 special teams player off a team that went 11-1 during the season. And you not making Coach of the Year for what you've done. Is that any motivation for you? Is that any motivation for your players going into this game?
I mean, at the end of the day, you're always working to earn respect. And what you do on the field is gonna provide everybody that tunes in and everybody that you compete against a new impression. And we've had plenty of guys that have been picked on award watch list. We've had a lot of recognition of our players, our coaches throughout the years. And like I tell our guys, you are what you see on that field come Saturday. And so I can tell you that we're going to go out and play to the best of our ability. And if that's worthy of being all conference, the individual awards are great, but we want to be conference champions. And so if we want to do that, we've got to go show it come Saturday. Thank you, guys.
All right.